Hey everyone, major news happening. So I just gotta set something up. Sorry, just had to set up the light. Anyway, guys, there is breaking news in the NFL. The Washington Redskins, of course, been around in DC since 1937, and the team has existed since 1932, back when they were called the Boston Braves for 1 year before becoming the Redskins the year after, have publicly announced they will be going through a thorough review of their controversial name. Man, feels like a long time coming, doesn't it? This has been a discussion point among people, whether that be political or for sports, for as long as I can remember, even longer than that. We all know about the origins of the Washington Redskins. It was founded by George Preston Marshall. Yes, he was known as being a racist, but some of the other owners too. He really was no different in many ways. But what really sets him apart from the pack was that when the NFL began to reintegrate the league with African American players starting in 1946, back when Eddie Codell signed Kenny Washington and Woody Strode, the Redskins kept not having African American players, with Marshall even saying we'll start adding black players, and the Harlem Globetrotters start adding white players. A very, very, very just ignorant statement, honestly. Very ignorant, very not even just like completely arrogant, not even understanding the dynamics. Sorry, I just had to turn that on again. Completely just unaware, just oblivious to the dynamics, or even just setting the mood at the time. It just doesn't make any sense as to why they kept it for so long. And it wasn't until 1962 when they were forced to add an African American player, with future Hall of Famer Bobby Mitchell going from the Browns to the Redskins. And, Marshall's name was removed from RFK, and Mitchell's number is going to be retired. They're not going to remove him from the Hall of Fame, which I understand completely, and I personally wouldn't get rid of him either, because there's many other people in there you can argue were also pretty racist, and once you get rid of one guy, people are going to ask for many other people to get rid of, and I just know, just leave it be. But as for the Redskins, I'm very happy they made that decision, but of course the biggest one is the name, that team name. In case you don't know, the term Redskin is a derogatory term for Native Americans. And of course, the Redskins, with their main logo being a Native American and having feathers and arrows and whatnot, and of course, it's we all know about we all know about the controversy surrounding Native American logos and images and names for sports, whether it be professional, collegiate, or even high school or town ranks. We all know about that. We all know the controversy surrounding that. And it doesn't just happen with the Redskins. There's the Chiefs. There's the Kansas City Chiefs. There's the Atlanta Braves, Cleveland Indians, who got their logo removed. The Chicago Blackhawks, and hell, even in the CFL, the Edmonton Eskimos are another example. But the Redskins is obviously the biggest one, by far. Nothing comes close. So big that on Wikipedia, they have an entire section dedicated to the Redskins, only the Redskins. And even though the Indians and the Braves and whatnot are mentioned, none come close to the Redskins, because at least those are at least not really that offensive. They're just common terms for them, where Redskin is an objectively offensive term. It's the same way as calling someone a black skin or a white skin or a yellow skin. Redskin is a native, and not only that, they also cut up parts of Native Americans who are also called Redskins. So it's not a shock why people always see that as offensive. I know people want to get upset with Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben, but at least with those, you had to research them, or at least do a proper understanding of what those terms mean to understand why they're offensive. With the Washington Redskins, it's just plain and obvious as to why it's offensive, because Aunt Jemima was a term for characters in minstrel shows, and with Uncle Ben, also with a slave that was picking rice. But for the Redskins, the term Redskin is unanimously regarded as an offensive name, and it never distanced himself from that. It was pretty obvious. It was talking about Native Americans, whereas with Aunt Jemima, you have to know what Aunt Jemima means, where everyone knows what a Redskin is. Everyone knows what the term means. And, I never thought they would actually change the name, at least until with Dan Snyder as the owner. I mean, we all know how the Redskins have been underneath his leadership. FedEx Field is among one of the worst in the league. Redskins are always mediocre to bad, usually mediocre. They made the playoffs a few times, but I don't think they only won like one playoff game or two. Not really any success. They've gone through many different head coaches, like 7, 8, 9. A lot of changes for the front office. Bruce Allen kept there for way too long. I think it was like 35 games under 500. Nothing against Bruce. Is that I'm just referring to his time with the Redskins. He brought in Ron Rivera, so hopefully that should make things a bit better for them. Hopefully he stays for more than just 2 years. But Gruden did last for 4 years, though, so 4.5 years, 5 years. I did feel bad for him. He was one of the more successful coaches under the Snyder ownership. I mean, it's not saying much, but he did have 2 winning seasons, and he did make it to the playoffs one year, winning the division, so not bad. Also with the Redskins, this wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for what's the climate right now. After George Floyd's murder and the protests in the streets, there have been lots of name changes. Mississippi is changing their state flag. I mentioned brands like Uncle Ben and Aunt Jemima's that are going through their changes. Several names, a place like with Woodrow Wilson and with hell, even John Wayne are thinking about being removed. And of course, this has divided a lot of people as expected. And even though it is united with the intention, it has divided a lot of people. But I'm pretty sure the majority of people, when they look at the Redskins name, I'm pretty sure everyone saw it, or at least most of them saw it as offensive. Even though if it not matter to them, they understand why it is offensive to them. 1 second. And now, going with the Redskins, Pepsi said they wanted the name to be changed. Under a lot of pressure from advertisers and investors, they said to the Redskins, you should change your name. And Pepsi doesn't just own the soda. It's Mountain Dew, it's Lay's, it's Frito-Lay, Quaker Oats, Aunt Jemima, who also owns Aunt Jemima, by the way, too, is owned by Pepsi. FedEx, who has a minority stake in the Redskins and is the name of their stadium, FedEx Field, said, it's time to change your name. And now Nike, yes, we know about the practices outside in Southeast Asia, but Nike is always a big proponent of social change and whatnot. They removed all Redskins memorabilia and merchandise from their own official company website. Just wow. Change has to happen, right? Snyder has to cave in. I mean, you can't just hold on to that 90% pull from several years ago for this long. I mean, change is afoot, and what do you know? The Redskins just announced they're going through a thorough review of their name. There's no way they're going to skip with the name Redskins. I know that it's like a joking say, just change the logo to just potatoes, or remove the Washington from the name and add DC. It's like a joke, and I do think that's pretty funny. But in all honesty, they're not going to have the term Redskins anymore. They're done. They're changing it. It's going to happen as soon as this year. Now, it is kind of rushed because we're like 2 months away from the regular season and like a month and a half away from preseason games. Are they going to keep with the Native American theme, or are they going to call themselves the Warriors? Are they going to go through a completely different rebrand and call themselves like the Red Tails, like the Tuskegee Airmen from World War II? Could they call themselves the Red Hawks? Or could they just not have any team name at all and just call themselves the Washington NFL Football Club? Which I don't think they will do that either, because that's not really very marketable. You need to have an actual name. And just having them a football club just for placeholder stake is not going to be very good for marketing your team, especially for a team like the Redskins, a team that has struggled a lot in the last 20 years under Snyder's ownership. And, the Redskins are also the 5th most valuable team in the league and the 14th most valuable professional team in the world, valued at $3.1 billion. So I know there's so many people say, oh, just a name. Why is it that important? This is a very massive, significant change because they've had this name basically since they were started, except for their first season where they were called the Boston Braves, be with the baseball team. They've been known as the Redskins basically their entire existence. And they're a very profitable team. They're a very well-known team. They're an iconic team. They played the Cowboys have played them the most. That's the Cowboys, the biggest team in America, in the world in terms of worth and in terms of popularity. That's their biggest rival historically, the Washington Redskins. And the third most common matchup on Thanksgiving outside of the Lions against either the Bears or the Packers has been the Cowboys against the Redskins. Granted, the Redskins are 1-8 against them, and they're probably going to be 1-9 after this year because they're going to be playing on Thanksgiving again. But doesn't matter. That is the most famous rival for the most popular team. And now, that may not be the case. They're not going to be called that anymore, probably. In fact, I'm going to say it right now. They're definitely going to change their name. They're not going to be called the Redskins anymore. They're going to be called something else. What do you guys think they should be called? I'm thinking Red Tails would be the perfect one because the Tuskegee Airmen, in case you don't know, were African American World War II fighter pilots. And the Red Tails were the names of their planes. I think that would be a great name. And you can keep the color scheme of burgundy and gold if you want, or marigold, yellow, whatever it is. You can keep it, or you can just follow the same tradition that the other teams do in the DMV area and just make it red, white, and blue. Probably more navy than royal. But you already have the Patriots for that, so I don't know. But they use more silver. Burgundy and gold is different. They're going to keep they should keep the color scheme. Red Tails could work either way. The Hogs, that's another one. They could use the Hogs, the Washington Pigskins, like after the football. But I think replace anything with skins. I don't think you're going to use anything with skins. Do something that people want to see. And the one I like the most is Red Tails if you want to do a completely different rebranding. But if you want to keep with the Native American rebranding, call them the Warriors. Yes, you can say the Golden State Warriors have that too. But there's a lot of parallels. Arizona Cardinals, St. Louis Cardinals, Carolina Panthers, Florida Panthers, New York Jets, Winnipeg Jets. It's really not out of the ordinary to have a team similar to it. I don't think it's really a big deal, personally, if you were to ask me. I don't think it's really that bad. I think, Warriors would work. You can use the Native American head. I mean, yeah, you could say they can change the logo, but not many people really find the logo offensive because it's just a regular, appropriate Native American profile. But if they were to change the logo, you could go back to that old spear logo. I love that logo. I like that uniform they had. It was like a darker burgundy, like a darker gold, like a more metallic kind of gold. I liked that uniform. I could see that coming back. What is this going to mean for throwbacks? I mean, the Redskins uniforms is a pretty basic and pretty iconic set. Are you going to get rid of that? Are you going to change that? What are you going to use for throwback days? Are you going to just have a blank logo on the helmet? Like, how's that going to work? I'm in favor of changing the name. I know there's many people that aren't, but the term Redskin should have been gone a long time ago. Everyone knows it's offensive. Everyone knows it's overdue. And the fact that it took someone getting murdered by police officers that didn't care for the law for massive protests across the entire world over police brutality and police accountability and unrest and systemic racism. It took all this stuff. And it took, of course, major advertisers like FedEx and Pepsi to pressure the Redskins into doing it. The owners know one thing for sure, and it's a common language that everyone knows. Money. Doesn't matter if it's cents, pounds, euros, dollars, pence, doesn't matter. Everyone understands the language of money, especially when it comes to team owners. Pepsi is a major advertiser. FedEx is an advertiser for the Redskins, and Nike is, of course, the sponsor and the ones who manufactures the uniforms. A name change is afoot. We're going to have it. And for Snyder, probably going to make like a lot of money. Just sell off all the old Redskins stuff and just sell the new team, whatever you're going to call it. What do you guys think the team name should be called? I'd like to know what you all have to say. Any ideas? I like Red Tails. I think the Red Tails would be a really nice name. Funny enough, Red Tails was actually the final movie by Lucasfilm before Disney bought them. It was also a Fox movie too, so they were all reunited. Maybe that's on Disney Plus. I'm not too sure. But Hamilton's on Disney Plus now, so I gotta make sure I see that. But in other news, man, I can't believe this is happening. I still can't believe this is finally happening. After all these years of people questioning it, it is actually going to happen. The Washington Redskins will no longer be called the Washington Redskins. What a time to be alive. Best of luck, guys, and thank you very much. Peace out.